Hello, my name is Kayla Ramirez, and today I'm going to present to you the immigration migration experience. For some people, the decision to migrate is provoked by constant violence, war, poverty, and few opportunities for betterment. Growing up, I got to see this firsthand in my family. The decision of many people to migrate is filled with domestic troubles, travel risks, and destination hurdles. This presentation will provide into what millions encounter today. One reason that people immigrate is that they live in poverty. Many people can't afford or have resources for food, as well as not being able to afford medical attention and are living in poor housing. Being in poverty also means lack of education, government support, and health care. Callan stated that America represents a land of safety, stability, prosperity, and opportunity to millions of people living with violence, corruption, and poverty. Malnourished is a big issue in many countries such as Africa, India, and many others. Malnourished is due to the unequal issues and lack of resources in developing countries, which results in them not being able to afford land and supplies for farming to grow food. Edwards stated that Darlene Rodriguez and her family left Honduras because they couldn't afford food. They would starve themselves until they could have the money to be able to buy it. Another reason why people leave is that they are in domestic abusive relationships, or they are in constant fear of gang violence. Kayla stated that 33-year-old Glinda Escobar left San Pedro Sula, Honduras with her two young boys because when she was younger, she was kidnapped and raped by a man she knew. Her abductor was a policeman and gang member. Callan stated that El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras are three countries that are filled with government corruption, drug trafficking, and gang violence. Glenda wanted to no longer live in fear for her own safety and her children's safety. Lastly, another reason for migrating is because of war. People are forced to leave their country and homes to get away from the murders and violence. Kingsley stated that at least 660,000 people fled Ukraine in 5 days after Russia invaded. Kingsley also stated that many were in shock not only at the war itself, but also the suddenness of which they had been ripped from a life of normalcy. Migrants leaving their homes is a difficult time for them. The sudden move by force can cause fear and sadness because they don't know how long the war is going to last and when they will be able to go back home or if they still have a home. Edwards mentioned about Kazim Man's experience was like leaving his village in Pakistan in 1996. He was only wearing his one pair of shoes and a one-way ticket to Virginia. There are many refugees and migrants from Ukraine, Syria, Iran, and Afghanistan moving to the closest and war-free countries such as Greece, Turkey, and Germany, and many more. When it comes to planning to migrate, people must find a source of transportation. Kalin stated that some take buses or manage to catch rides on passing trucks or some walked. Depending on their journey to the border, many have to suffer through rainstorms, hot heat, and cold temperatures, and having to sit or walk for several hours. Some live off single daily meals, and according to Callan, when they stop at villages at nightfall, they will sleep on sidewalks or on floors that are bedded down at crowded local schoolhouses, abandoned warehouses, or at churches. Callan stated that people are now joining groups to travel together. Callan also mentioned that those who travel alone in a small group have been robbed or assaulted. They even pay bribes to unprincipled officials to avoid any problems. Some pay human smugglers known as coyotes for safe traveling, but it is no guarantee of safety or arriving at their destination. They might leave them stranded, or some have been killed or badly injured. When immigrants have arrived at the border, they can never know what the outcome might be. Edwards stated that when Albertina and her daughter Jacqueline arrived and crossed the Texas border, a few hours later, U.S. officials were forced to separate them. To quote Edwards, no one would tell Albertina where they were taking her daughter, and no one told Jacqueline when she would see her mom again. Callan stated that the United States started a new policy that requires asylum seekers to stay in Mexico and wait for the processing of their claims. According to Callan, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Agency People can request asylum in the US, but if they are endangered and they can't return home, the federal government must contemplate the petition if the person comes into the country legally or illegally. Callan also mentioned that immigrants who lose their asylum cases can't afford to continue with the appeal process and get sent back to the country's origin. When rejected, they can never get to experience having a better opportunity. Callan stated that the United States started a new policy. Therefore, the decision to migrate is filled with domestic troubles, travel risks, and destination hurdles. The decision of leaving their home country due to poverty, violence, and war, and they must also face obstacles such as transportation to get to their destination and having to go through the judicial process, which can be another difficult obstacle. I hope this informed you what obstacles millions of people have been through or are going through when migrating to a new country. Thank you.